Welcome to another episode of Strictly Business, the podcast in which we speak with some of the brightest minds working in the media business today. I'm Andrew Wallenstein, Chief Insights Officer at Luminate Insights and a Variety contributor. Never tell Ryan Kalil or Blake Griffin to stay in their lanes. They've been busy branching out since their days as pro athletes, first as the principals of the production company Mortal Media, and now as two of the co-owners of a Mexican football league team. And you could add docuseries co-stars to their resume because they share the team ownership process with the cameras in a new show that launched on YouTube on August 5th, We Are Osos. Ryan and Blake, welcome back to Strictly Business.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you.
Cool. So I had the pleasure of interviewing you guys on the podcast 3 years ago. At the time, Ryan, you were already probably a few years removed from your playing days for the California Panthers and the NFL. Blake was actually still in the NBA playing for the Boston Celtics, and you've since retired, but you've since been holding down yet another job as an on-air analyst for Prime Video's NBA telecast. So first, Blake, catch us up on where Mortal Media has been. How has your production business evolved these past few years?
It's been great. It's been really interesting, both being retired. I think just being able to have something to step into right away for both of us was great for our sanity, for one, just because, you're doing this, you're playing a sport that you played your entire life and so much of your time is dedicated to it that having something to step into, I can't speak for Ryan, but I'm pretty sure he would agree that having just this project and business that we've started was great. And we were able to sort of take a step back and had a sort of a holistic look at where we were at and where we wanted to be in 5 years and all the things we wanted to add. And we've added a lot since then, not only from the project side, but sort of expanding what we offer as a production company and sort of seeing how the media landscape is and where we want to go. So we've just kind of cracked the surface of where we want to go, but it's been really cool being able to expand and really dedicate real time to our company.
And Ryan, for Mortal Media, I think some of the better known projects you've done over the past years include some scripted series, Hello Tomorrow on Apple TV, The White Men Can't Jump reboot on Hulu. But the project we're about to talk about more marks an unscripted expansion for your company. So tell me about the strategy there.
As Blake was saying, we're athletes at heart, and structure is really important for us. And so us being able to now be done with our respective sports careers, we've been able to kind of sit down and build more structure and roadmap out. I think with those two projects, we're really proud of, but we've spent the first part of our business really just trying to learn and understand how this town works and how this industry works. And I think for the most part, how we've developed things and how we've sold things around town has been very sort of tried and true. We've been very reactionary in terms of what the market wants and what we should be developing. And now that we've been able to spend more time on this, we both sat down and sort of said, okay, where is all this going? It is changing pretty rapidly. Where do we want to be? How do we want to go about it? I think the way people are watching entertainment is changing really fast. And so we've always really wanted to build a model that lets us tap in directly with a relationship with an audience and have a connection that's long term. And so this is kind of our first forte into that, where we're able to sort of self-distribute, and we're going to be able to kind of see how the audience reacts to what we're building and how we're telling the stories we want to tell. And so this one is really exciting for us. And Blake's also been quietly developing a new show that's really incredibly smart and sort of follows that same approach. So yeah, it's been exciting. We're still sort of going down the more traditional path. We have a ton of stuff that we've set up at major studios and networks and streamers. But this one, it's been kind of a beast, but it's been really fun. And we've been learning a lot in the way that a lot of people are consuming entertainment. We do feel like this is going to be the future moving forward.
Let's talk a bit more about that future, particularly what you mean by self-distribution. I assume this has to do with where this particular project has ended up, which is YouTube. So how does that work?
Typically, the way projects go are in the more traditional sense. You sort of develop something and you take it around town and you try to set it up at a network or major streamer. And then you're solely within the physical and creative process of that. And then in terms of marketing and distribution and how you time that out and analytics behind it, a lot of that really goes to the distributor. And so we're having to do all of it and wear all the hats. So there's a learning curve. We have a really incredible team around us, and we've had a ton of really great people within our network who have done it and have had a lot of success. It's kind of crazy to see behind the curtain in how people do consume certain stories, certain shows, movies, whatever it is that they really love and why they do it and the different demographics. And then especially for this show it is cross border. It is bilingual in not only the subject matter, but obviously the language. And so that's a whole nother aspect of this that we've been having to sort of navigate, but it's been really, really fun. And we're really proud of where it is. And we're excited to see how the audience shows up for it.
And Blake, Ryan referenced that you're doing some development for a similar project. Is that something you're able to talk about at this point?
I can't share yet. We will announce it sometime soon, but something we've been working on in the same space, like you said. But yeah, I can't share anything yet, but super excited about it when we do.
Okay. So this show is called We Are Osos, Osos being the name of the football team in Monterrey, Mexico, which plays in the LFA, the Liga de Futbol Americano. Blake, how did this project even get on your radar? I don't know if you guys were big Mexican football league fans, or so how does this originate?
To be honest, this was all Ryan. Ryan came to me and I think we had both been sort of looking for different opportunities to invest and own teams in various leagues. I looked at the English Premier League and everything else. The pickleball craze came through for a while and neither of us invested in that. And so Ryan called me one day, and I'll let him tell you the story about how he came across the LFA, but calls me one day and is like, what do you think about owning a football team in Mexico? I'm like, oh yeah, I love soccer, not football. And as I dug into it and as he shared more about it, I was like, this is really awesome. I had no idea the amount of American football fans in Mexico. I think it's something like 40 million plus. Is that right, Ryan? 40 million plus fans. And they have a rich history of playing football at the university level down there. And when you see footage of those university games, and even if you come to an LFA game, it feels much more like a college atmosphere. The band, the music, and also you're watching a product that is way beyond where I thought it was. And that may just be me not knowing much about football, American football in Mexico. But these fans know the game, and it doesn't feel like you're watching football in a different country with a different culture. It's very much what we're used to here. So I was all in after learning about all of this and seeing Monterrey for the first time. It's an unbelievable city. I think Ryan and I both have fallen in love with Monterrey. Monterrey's been an awesome place to own a team.
So Ryan, how does this LFA get on your radar to begin with?
Well, it started from the storytelling standpoint. I think, as you can imagine, Blake and I, given our backgrounds, we get pitched every kind of sports documentary and scripted project you can imagine. Obviously, we've done sports related projects, but there's not been a lot of stories that have come across our desks that we've gotten really excited about. We're not opposed to doing sports stories, but I think for us, it's always been that at the heart of it, there has to be something that connects us to it outside of the sport itself. Sports has to sort of play in the background, and this documentary is no different. And I think for us, the fact that, like Blake said, we had no idea that American football was this popular in Mexico and how much they love it. There's a shorthand there that gives us a huge advantage. And as we were sort of learning more about the league, we just fell in love with the kinds of players that were playing. These are guys who are not making a lot of money. They really are playing for the love of the game. They have jobs during the day. They're practicing late at night. They're not getting home and going to bed until 1 a.m. Very little resources, killing their bodies just because they want to hang on a little bit longer, have one more shot at potentially going to, one of the legacy leagues, or they just love it. They just love it and they want to play it as long as their body will let them. In a world where a lot of professional athletes are making crazy amounts of money, and now even college kids, there was something romantic about these guys and wanting to tell their stories that Blake and I really fell in love with. And so through that process, and trying to figure out where we would tell that story, what city, which team, because the league's been around for about 10 years now. It was started by friends who just loved the game. They were former ESPN executives down in Mexico. And as we were getting in the process, we thought, well, since we are doing this, we might as well own one of the teams. That was never the intention at the top of this. And then I would hound Blake for weeks and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this? This is kind of crazy and it's going to be a lot of work." And yeah, he was supportive all the way through, and it's been a lot of work. And I think as former players, we've taken for granted how much goes into running an entire team. I think we've only kind of been in the team lane part of it, where it's like, okay, we understand there's practices. We understand there's player personnel decisions. We understand there's salaries. There's the very basic sports part of it, but then there's a whole nother aspect that we've had to learn on the fly while also telling this story and producing this doc. So, and then also distributing ourselves and marketing ourselves and doing all the groundwork for all facets of this. So yeah, it's been a lot, but we've learned a ton and we've loved the challenge, and it'll keep evolving. And we're excited to share with everybody the same things that we've found down there and that we fell in love with.
But what you're saying begs a question, and Blake, I'll refer to you on this because you also, as you referenced, you're doing Prime Video, NBA analyst work on top of all of this. How do you guys multitask? Ownership alone sounds like it's a job and a half, and it now sounds like you've got 5 different jobs across all the many things that you do. How do you do it?
Well, yeah, we decided owning a team wasn't hard enough, so we wanted to do a documentary and then distribute it ourselves at the same time, which does sound crazy, but I think that's just kind of how Ryan and I work. Like, to Ryan's credit, like, this has been his baby from day one, and he has put in a ton of work. Like I said, I've been working on a couple other projects. I was finishing up the NBA season, the playoffs this year, so I wasn't able to get down to Monterey as much. And Ryan's been, I don't know how many times he's been to Monterey, to Mexico City, making sure all this gets done. But we kind of divide and conquer. I think we take sort of the same work ethic that you have to make it as a professional athlete, and just apply it to everything else. And that's one, you're not afraid of what you don't know. You just put your head down, you go in and you attack it, and you learn along the way. And we've been incredibly grateful, as Ryan said. We've had some unbelievable people around us that have been mentors to us or partners with us, and it's been a lot of fun. I think as a retired athlete, you're sort of always chasing the high of competition and games and what we grow to love and what just becomes life for us, that staying busy and stacking these little wins, accomplishing something and moving on to the next thing, continuing to move the goalposts of what we want to do or what we want to accomplish, I think is just sort of in our DNA. It's not even something we sit down and we have to remind ourselves every day. I think that's just who we are. I think that's why we've been such great partners over the years. It's just, we have that same sensibility for now what? What else can we do? What else can we add? And it's been a blast. Ryan called tomorrow and was like, "Hey, what do you think about a cricket league in Southeast Asia?" I'd be like, "All right, let's talk about it." Just because I think there's so many interesting stories. And like I said, once we got to know this league and these players, this docuseries is not about us owning the team. It's about the league and the players, because I think that's who people are going to fall in love with. So we didn't want to take on this project as hey, look what we're doing now. We have to sort of set up the story, right? But I think the coolest thing ever is getting to know these guys, their lives at home, getting to know their lives at their other job, and seeing how much these guys truly care about football. Because I think we all, no matter how long we played or how short we played, if you loved a sport or any sport, multiple sports, you played it for the love of that sport. And you remember those days where it's just you always remember the last day you played. And these guys prolonging that and playing for as long as they can is such a fun story.
And I get why that's compelling. I also imagine, though, I could see you guys pitching this, and whether it's YouTube or someone else, the first thing they're probably saying is, "But you guys are going to show up in this too, right?" And, was there any arm twisting there? Did you want it to be all about the players, or I'm just curious?
I think from a story, go ahead, Ryan.
No, go ahead.
I think just from a storytelling perspective, we understand that we have to be in this, and we do pop in and out. But I think for me personally, just my favorite part is seeing these guys in the apartments that we set up for them and seeing them go do stuff away from the field, not just the practices, not just the games, because you get to know them on such a close level. And there's some characters. We got some really funny guys. There's some guys that you just root for. Some of the nicest guys ever, great families who you can connect with. every year I watch Hard Knocks, and my favorite stories on Hard Knocks are the guys that I didn't know anything about, that maybe don't even make the team, but you get to know them and you feel for them and you find yourself actively rooting for them because you get to know the heart, you get to know the story. We have a team full of those guys.
Sure. And Hard Knocks, the show you just referenced, of course, is that long-running HBO docudrama that goes behind the scenes of an NFL team every season. Since then, I mean, that show's been on for a long time. The explosion in sports-themed reality series, docudramas, it's insane. And Ryan, I'm curious because you guys have never been about just producing for sports. Is there a line between we're naturals to take part in this, but also maybe balanced with we don't want to be pigeonholed. We want to do non-sport stuff too?
Yeah, I think so. But I also feel like I think the timing of all this is relevant because sports might be the last monoculture. Blake and I talk about this all the time. It really is such a unifier. I mean, you saw how the world came together during the World Cup. And like anything, whether it's the World Cup or it's the Olympics or Hard Knocks, I mean, people love sports stories rarely because it's about the sport. And that's the thing that gets them into it. But there's all these universal themes that people really gravitate towards. There's clear stakes with winning and losing. There's adversity. You see these amazing stories of people overcoming injuries or failure or personal sacrifice. Everybody loves comeback stories. So I think there's all of that. There's a community. There's aspirational aspects to it. I know for me, whenever I'm watching the Olympics, there'll be a random sport. I don't necessarily care about that sport, but you tell me about their struggle, you tell me about their story and their journey it took to get there, and I'm hooked and I'm rooting for that person. And so a lot of these shows that we're referencing, like a Hard Knocks or like a Last Chance U, I think the best sports documentaries really aren't about sports. They're about the people. And that's why I think it resonates with everyone. And that's why I think it's important for us to continue to look at sports. And there's still genres and things that we love outside of sports and comedy and genre and all these things that we're going to continue to develop and that we love. But I do think more than ever is a time that we should be really looking at these sports stories because it really is sort of exploding all around the world. And you're seeing all kinds of startup leagues come about. And obviously the legacy leagues continue to grow and become more and more constant throughout our lives. But yeah, I think for us, we'll continue to look at sports stuff, but this one was one that really, really stuck with us. And hopefully it does the same for an audience.
Couldn't agree more with what you're saying here about, sports being sort of a very universal storytelling sphere. Sports is monoculture. It also seems to me, and I'm curious if you guys agree, that the sports monoculture is still largely dominated by a handful of 4 to 5 U.S. leagues. But do you think when you invest in something like a team in a Mexican football league, there seems to me that there's just a lot of upside in this sort of, I hate to say second tier, but it is, I think, second tier, smaller leagues and what they could grow into be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially like we said, I would say soccer or football is king in Mexico and a lot of countries, but in Mexico for one. So finding leagues as well that are just underexposed. But there's, like I said, 40 plus million NFL fans. Not just football fan, NFL fans. So there's even more on the university level and beyond. And like you said, this league also is very young still. And having a chance to come in and not only own a team, but help grow the entire league. It was very interesting to us because there is a market for it. It's incredibly hard to run a league and put together a league, let alone a team. So being able to come in and help shape that and grow football in Mexico is huge. And obviously I don't have the connection to football like Ryan does, but I mean, you see, Christian McCaffrey, we see so many George Kittle jerseys at games. Sam Darnold went down this season and I mean, there is a real love for these guys, and they also bring a certain pedigree that I can't, and then they can actually help these guys on the field. And we'd love to get to a point where, every team around has these ambassadors or has these part owners to be able to grow the game to down there.
Yeah, we should clarify, because we hadn't mentioned it yet, some of the names you referenced, Christian McCaffrey, Sam Darnold, they are, like yourselves, part owners in this team. There's a whole bunch of guys that American football fans will recognize. I'm just curious, and there's a lot of teams that have these multiple celebrity owners. Is that a whole, whether on camera and off camera, a whole other sort of layer of complication to deal with? Lots of egos, lots of different chefs in the kitchen, so to speak. Ryan, what do you say?
I can only speak to our team and the group that we put together. We've been friends and former teammates for a long time. So I think part of it selfishly was, there's a marketing aspect to this that will help us sort of expose the stock and the stories of these guys. But if we were going to do all this work and it was going to be really hard, we felt like it would be the most fun version to do it with people that we love and care about and that are really smart. And so, no, there's no egos involved because we know the group very well. Blake knows football very well. He'll be humble about it, but he's very, very versed in really all sports and really smart about not only his take on sports, but some of his ideas and thoughts that are pretty universal regardless of the sport. Blake has had an incredible NBA career, basketball career overall, and since he was a kid. And so to have that kind of experience, what a good team looks like. What a good player looks like. What a good organization, a good culture looks like. You don't have to know very much football specific for that to have value. And so these are conversations that we never thought we'd have practically. And it's been really fun to kind of put them to the test. And then especially going back to what you were saying about a startup league or an emerging league versus a legacy league, it's really only upside because, obviously there's the international opportunity that's enormous, but you get to actually, like Blake was saying, you get to shape the future of the league. And so there's less downside to experimenting. You can sort of innovate faster, whether it's media, fan engagement, some of the technologies that are really crazy that people don't know about that are coming about more and more. So there's all these things. It's just really about picking a lane and making a decision and trying it, because otherwise you can kind of spin out thinking about all the different possibilities. It's been really exciting to do this with friends, and it's been really exciting to try to kind of figure out, because Blake and I had always said, it's funny because every player has always bitched or joked about how their respective organization has been run. And in between practices or games, you'll sit around with guys and talk about, like, if I own this team, here's how I would do it. I don't understand why they're doing it this way. And then you realize, now being on the other side of it, in a much smaller scale than some of these legacy leagues, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of chefs in the kitchen. And so we're taking it day by day. And the advantage we have is because of Mortal Media and the production company, we are able to explore all these things, and we are able to have a much faster ability to expose it to the world and really bring awareness about the league.
One thing we've learned through the media industry, some of these projects take a long time and you're working hand in hand with people. And we really realized that, like, one of the most important things that we've added to our thesis is you have to really enjoy the people you're working with. These guys have been phenomenal. And I think, again, as athletes, you just sort of speak the same language. And it's been great to have these guys along with us, just because you mentioned, are there egos involved? And really, as athletes, your whole career, you're taught, you get on this team and you drive towards one goal, and everybody has their lane, and you'll see it in the doc. But our running back got to work with Christian McCaffrey. Our tight ends worked with George Kittle. Sam Darnold's down there, talking to our head coach and our quarterback. And that's really what this is. It's like a group of guys coming together and trying to build not only this team, but, like we said, build and grow the game of football in Mexico.
Well, sounds like some memorable moments on camera and off. Blake, Ryan, really wish you luck with your Osos investment with Mortal Media. Thanks for coming back to Strictly Business and giving us a progress report.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice. We love to hear from listeners. Please go to Variety.com to sign up for the free weekly Strictly Business newsletter. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Strictly Business.